It is the early 1980s, and the first Gunpla boom has just begun. So what can you, as a random model kit company, do to capitalize on this success? Well, you can make quality model kits for a great price and try to compete with Bandai, or you can try to imitate them, which is what Ari did with their Guldan series. But the beginning of this story is actually in 1975, when Ari jumped on the Super Robot boom, which was led by series like Mazinger Z, Get a Robo, and Denjin Zaborger. And to cash in on this craze, they created the Gatai Robo series, loosely translating as Combining Robot series. But they weren't anything to write home about, even considering the time that they were released at. The articulation was almost non-existent, with just some torso, head, and shoulder articulation, and the arms were held together with a rubber band. This makes the old Gundam kits feel like master grades, but they did have some cool play features. True to their name, these were combining robots. Even after building them, the torso and the legs could be separated and combined with other kits from the line. And these kits didn't just include other robots. You could mount gun turrets on the legs, and the torsos could be mounted onto tank-like things. Or you could be more conventional and mount the turrets onto the tanks. And on top of that, each kit also had some kind of spring-loaded shooting function. The mechs could shoot at their hands, or whatever was mounted there instead, and the gun turrets could fire a missile. So despite their derivative nature, I do find these kits oddly charming, and as a kid, I probably would have been really happy with them. There is also some more direct plagiarism though, because in at least 2 of the boxes, I saw Thunderbird 2. And shortly after this, they released the Gatai Robo boat. Each boat came with 1 torso and 1 gun turret, which could be freely exchanged with any other Gatai Robo. So you could put 2 robot torsos on your speedboat if you really wanted. More on the nose then was their Space Convoy series, released in 1978. I bet you can never guess which movie franchise that these kits were inspired by. At some point, you go from being inspired by something to ripping something off. It's difficult to say where the line is, but it was definitely crossed here. Just imagine trying to release something like this nowadays, now that Disney owns the license. I'll see you in court. Like, I'm convinced they must have used NordVPN to hide their location, the premier VPN service that'll also help you dodge those pesky region locks, which I did need to do for my research for this video. And by using the link down below, or the code kkrt, you'll not just get a sweet discount, but you'll also be supporting the channel. So now, allow me to introduce you to Governor Gallenmeyer, Dester Commando, Jupiter P3, and R2. You really couldn't have gone with another letter of the alphabet. And other than these straight ripoffs, they also decided to re-release some of the Gatai Robo series line into this line, but now with a more Star Wars-y box and name. For example, the Fire Robot became the Random RD4. Their next step up though is what I'm just going to call a straight up scam. We are now in the early 80s with the Gunpla boom in full swing, and as I alluded to in the beginning, Ari decided to jump in as well. But rather than creating new model kits, or at the very least updating their old model kits to be more Gundam-like, they went about it in the most scummy way possible, with Solar System Squadron Guldan, or Solar System Sentai Guldan. On the left, you have the original Fire Robot model kit, with a box art that actually represents how the kit looks. Note how it looks almost nothing like the Gundam. You look more like the Gundam. And on the right, we have the Dawn. The legs have been completely redesigned, it got a more Gundam-y color scheme, the font now imitates the font used by Gundam, and the box art as a whole has been styled after those original Gunpla box arts, including having the pilot next to his machine. And they did this with every other Guldan kit from their first lineup. The problem was that the kit inside was still identical to the original Gatai Robo kits, but technically you can't fault them for this because they wrote a warning on the box that says that the model kit might vary slightly from the illustration on the box. You can go f yourself with that warning. The only actual difference is that the kits now include a gun turret, whereas the originals had the gun turret sold separately. So imagine how these kits were viewed in 1981 if they were already considered not that great in 1975. But Ari pressed on, and the original Guldan series would get a whopping 8 kits. For the mechs, we have the RX-78-2 inspired Dawn, the strongest warrior piloted by Dawn Huffman, the Zaku 2 inspired Gun, the super steel warrior piloted by Gun Ramyu, the Char Zaku 2 inspired Baku, the strategic warrior piloted by Baku Saravan, and the Goof/Zagok inspired Mag, the electromagnetic warrior piloted by Mag Zillion. And they can then be combined with the tanks that were also taken from the Gatai Robo series, but don't have a direct Gundam equivalent. For the Dawn, there's the Gommel, for the Gun, the Damura, for the Baku, the Virata, and for the Mag, the Zirin. But because they still have that same universal waist joint, you can of course combine them however you see fit. And you can even combine them with the speedboats from the original Gatai Robo series. Also, you might have noticed an interesting inconsistency, at least if I was able to find high enough resolution pictures of the tanks. The mechs are 1/500 scale, but they combine with tanks that are 1/100 scale. I can accept piracy, but inconsistent scaling is where I draw the line. And if you thought that this was it, we're only getting started. Because in collaboration with Nissin Shoji, they released Guldan Gum. Smaller model kits that came with a stick of gum and were about as different as they could be. The only things that remained the same were the names, because apparently they couldn't be bothered coming up with new ones, and the fact that they were still ripping off Gundam. At the very least though, the kits now actually represented their box art because they did use new molding. Congratulations, you did the bare minimum. So, the Dawn is still the main machine, ripping off the Gundam. The Gun is a Jim with the Gundam's beam rifle, so it's the one that got gored by Char Zagok. The Baku has the Dom's legs, the Gundam shield, the Zaku's shoulder pads but without the center spike, and Wolverine's color scheme. The Mag looks like a remold of the Baku, but with a different head and weapons. The Gommel is a Zaku-esque thing but with Dom legs. The Virata has a Zaku face and Dom legs. The Damura has a Gu face and Dom legs. And the Zirin has a Dom head, Dom legs, and the Goof's whip. I think the designer of these kits really liked the Dom's legs. But around the same time, they also started selling another series, the Animage series. Not to be confused with the magazine, also called Animage. And since the magazine was first and pretty popular, plus considering Ari's track record, I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that they deliberately chose this name to piggyback off of their success. But anyways, all of the models sold under the Animage brand were from an upcoming anime called Super Galaxy Legend Bisson, with Bisson being the name of the main mech. And again, this thing was clearly heavily inspired by the RX-78-2, to say the least. And the same went for the rest of the line. But before we delve deeper into those model kits, let's talk more about this upcoming anime. Included in the kits was a short manga and a simple animation cell for you to color in to make you feel like an actual animator. And on top of that, according to Wikipedia, there were actual advertisements in magazines that said that Yoyogi Animations was looking for subcontractors to work on the animation cells. And then after some further digging, I found this ad that was scanned in by Skywalker EP7, and he even scanned in what looks like a straight up animation cell from like an actual production, which has one of the original designs from Bisson, the Chronos. So it's not like this is an animation cell from another existing obscure anime. This is straight up from Bisson. And in case you're wondering, it's also not one of those color in yourself animation cells that were included with the model kits, at least not that I could find. So it looks like there weren't just plans to turn Super Galaxy Legend Bisson into an anime, they were actually working on it. The craziest thing though is that according to an interview in the Comic Gone magazine, Ari considered going straight to Sunrise to have Bisson turn into an anime. Like, seriously? You should be happy that you didn't get sued. How delusional are you that you think you even had the slightest chance to have your pirated Gundam series turned into an anime by the people making Gundam? And, well, as you've probably guessed by now, Super Galaxy Legend Bisson would never be made into an anime. Not because Sunrise complained or sued, but allegedly because they realized that making an anime costs a lot of money. How are these people in business? Anyways, what they did have was a story. It is the year 2300, and the Earth is ruled by Governor Pilot, leader of the evil Gedo Empire. In an attempt to thwart his plans of taking over all of space, Dr. Colonel leaves Earth and escapes to planet Z. Here he constructs 3 powerful battle suits in a giant space dome, and he also manages to form a ragtag group of anti-imperial freedom fighters. However, Governor Pilot had been keeping a close eye on Dr. Colonel and found out about his scheme. The secret hideout was discovered, and Empire forces launched a full-scale assault on Planet Z. Thanks to the leadership of one of their top aces, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Laycock, the anti-Empire forces weren't just outgunned, but they were completely outclassed too. However, out of nowhere, a mysterious battlesuit suddenly appeared and fought back the Empire's attack. This mystery machine was the Bisson, and it was piloted by Professor Colonel's grandson, Ryo Shisamu. Can you survive? And now, let's go over the battlesuits and their respective model kits. The main line is 1/76 scale, but there is a size difference between the standard battlesuits, which are roughly the same size as a 1/100 scale Gunpla, and the mass production type battlesuits, which are roughly the same size as a 1/144 scale Gunpla. So first up, for the Rebels' standard battlesuits, we have the Bisson, which looks like a mech that would appear in a non-Sunrise anime if they wanted to make a joke about Gundam, and the Kamui, which looks like it took some inspiration from the gun cannon. And for their mass production models, we have the Bender, which is also gun cannon-esque, the Mach, the Kronos, and the Somro, which was supposedly the best seller of the line. Gee, I wonder why. The bad guy battlesuits, meanwhile, don't look that derivative anymore, but that's not to say that they look particularly great either. For the standard battlesuits, we have the Gaspol, which is Ben Laycock's personal machine, and the Zarik, Governor Pilot's personal machine, that definitely got the inspiration for its color scheme from Char and Char 2.0. As for their mass production units, there's the Getz, which acted as the prototype for the Gaspol, the Buddha, which was a prototype for the Zarik, the Scala, and the Volum. Unfortunately for Ari though, it seems that the reviews for these kits were as bad as the reviews for the Guldan kits, with things like poor molding and parts not fitting together without a lot of work. And in addition to those main kits, there were also some other lines that they released for the series, like the Dome bases, which were small versions of the various bases from the manga/almost anime, dioramas, which combined existing battlesuit kits with extra land pieces, the Super Real Type line, which was inspired by Gundam's Real Type line and was the exact same concept, being that the kits were reprinted in a more serious color and with a slide of realistic waterslide decals. And finally from the Animage line, we get two lines that probably look very familiar to you. On the left, we have the Guldan Gum line, which we covered earlier in the video. In the middle, there's a line that is simply branded with the Animage, and on the right, there's the Microsuit line, which is a part of the Bisson series. For the middle ones, they're a bit of a mystery because it's not known when exactly they were released and they don't even have a manufacturer listed on them. But by looking at them, you can easily tell that they're simple repackagings of the Guldan Gum kits, but now without the gum, and the banner has the Animage branding instead of the Guldan Gum branding. Also, they're now 1/76 scale. And it's almost the same story with the Microsuit line. They're another repackaging with different branding, but because they're now part of the Bisson mythos, they come with a little Bisson-related comic strip, the pilot on the box has been changed, the name has been changed, and they're now listed as 1/144 scale, despite still being the exact same size as the others. And believe it or not, but Super Galaxy Legend Bisson is still alive and remembered, because in 2014, this official soft vinyl figure was released in the colors of the old Clover RX-78-2 Gundam Deluxe set. But I think that's enough bootleg Gunpla for one day. It's just crazy to think that in a parallel universe, there exists an anime called Super Galaxy Legend Bisson, probably with the animation quality of Twinkle Nora Rock Me. Because remember, making an anime is expensive, unlike a subscription to NordVPN, link down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you all... Huh? What's this Gungal thing?